Hi, I'm Gary, the Traveling Yogi. Thanks for joining me today. As you can see, we're indoors now. The weather's gotten a little bit chilly to be filming yoga classes outside. So we'll see, maybe there'll be a time during the late fall and the winter when we'll be able to film outside, and if so, we'll definitely do that. Otherwise, we'll be at various indoor venues, checking out new and different places. Let's begin our practice. Find a comfortable seat on your mat. And once you're seated, take a moment to feel your sitting bones. Feel the sitting bones as they rest on the mat. And just notice that connection. Feel the connection between your sitting bones and the mat beneath you. You can let your eyes close down. I find that often helps allow me to feel more easily. And then begin to breathe. Breathe in and breathe out. Just take a moment to notice the breath as it flows into your body, filling the body with breath, and then notice as the breath flows out. About 3 breaths that way, just cultivating a sense of intimacy with your breath. One more breath. And let it go. You can bring your palms to your knees and sit up nice and tall, and then draw the navel in just a little bit and let your spine lengthen. If you pulled your shoulders either back or up towards the ears, relax the shoulders a little bit. Try and relax the upper body. Now we'll begin with just a series of movements to explore the range of motion in most of the joints of the body. So join me as we look off to the left, and then off to the right, and then one more time off to the left, and then more to the right. Bring your head back to center, chin is level to begin. Now inhale, lift the chin up, and then exhale and bring the chin towards the chest, and one more time lifting the chin high, and then exhale and bringing it towards the chest. Come back to a place where your chin is back to neutral. Leave both hands on the knees. Take a very gentle twist to your left, looking over the left shoulder a little bit, and then back to the right. We're twisting the spine, and one more time to the left, just again exploring the range of motion of all the spinal vertebrae, and back to the right. Back to center now. Now, lean off to the right and to the left. It's a very gentle movement, and we're creating a crescent curve in the spine off to the right, and then to the left. Back to center. One more movement, actually 2 more movements we haven't made yet for the spine, and that's to round forward. That's flexion. And then extension. Lift the chest up, lift the chin. And one more time, flexion, bringing the forehead down towards the mat, and extension. Lift the chin up a little bit, bring the shoulder blades back, then come back to center. Now, let's come to a kneeling posture. And bring the right hand down. Keep that right arm straight. Reach the left hand up and overhead so your bicep is outside of that left ear. And then we're just going to swing the arm in the shoulder. So swing the arm, keep the arm straight. And notice the huge range of motion that you can get. Back the other way a couple of times with that arm in the shoulder joint. And one more time around. And then come back up. Flip your palms so that the palm faces up on that left hand. Then bend your left elbow and touch the left shoulder with your fingertips. And then straighten the arm and bend and straighten. Now make a little fist, very gentle one with that left hand, and then rotate the hand at the wrist joint. Go around a couple of times one way, and then back the other way a couple of times. Now open the hand, and then explore range of motion in the fingers and the thumb. Just kind of wiggling, and then let that go. Bring the left hand down. We're going to do the same thing on the other side. So keep your spine relatively straight. We're not going to create too much of a curve in the spine. And then reach the right hand up and over so the right bicep is outside that right ear. And then make a big circle with that arm, and then back the other way a couple of times. And then sit back up and straighten the right arm, reach it out, and then bend the right elbow, touch the shoulder with the fingertips and straighten. This explores range of motion in the elbow. And then keep that arm straight and make a gentle fist. You can flip your palm so you face down if you want, or you can keep the palm facing up, either way. Then go back the other way a couple of times. Then open the hand, palm facing up. Just explore the range of motion in all those little individual joints in the fingers and in the thumb. That's it, let it go. Now come to a seat and bring your legs out in front of you. I'm going to turn to the side so you can see this more easily. And then I'm going to come all the way down to my elbows and bend the right knee and bring it forward, and then across the body and to the left. We're going to explore range of motion in that right hip joint. Now bring the knee towards your chin and then out to the right side, and then straighten the left, and then bend the knee off to the left and towards the chin. We've gone around a couple of times one way. Let's go back the other way now. And here we're exploring the range of motion that that femur joint has in the hip. Now straighten the leg. We're going to point the toes up towards the sky, actually maybe the heel. Just straightening that right knee, and then bend the knee and straighten. And one more time, bend the knee and straighten. Now bend the knee a little bit, and then rotate the foot and the ankle joint, and then back the other way. Then we're going to do the same thing on the other side. Bring that right leg down, bend the left knee and bring it in towards the chest and then off to the left side. Straighten the leg, and then bring the knee across the body over to the right and then toward the chin, and then off to the left. Then back the other way, other direction. And then bend the knee, and then straighten the knee, and bend. Exploring range of motion in the knee joint, which actually is very similar to the elbow joint. You probably already knew that. Straighten the leg a little bit, and then rotate the foot at the ankle. Go around a couple times one way, and then back the other way. And then bring that left foot down and come back up to a seat. Let's talk for just a moment about what we just did. We worked through a range of motion in almost all the joints actually in the body. Not every single one, but almost all the joints. We did that to awaken the joints, and also so that we become more and more mindful of the experience of moving through the range of motion that each of our joints are capable of. Oftentimes what I'll do when I practice yoga first time in the morning is spend more time on that particular phase of the practice, just giving myself kind of a very gentle entree into the practice, not pushing too hard. And when I practice later in the day after I've been moving around a lot all day long, I'll probably shorten up that practice a little bit. So just so you're aware of the options that are available to you if you're adopting this 5-part practice that I've developed and that we've been practicing for the last 2 or 3 months. So that was the first phase of the practice. Let's move on now to the second phase, which is dynamic stretching. For that, let's begin in a standing posture at the front of your mat. Feet about hip width apart, maybe a little bit more. Actually, I'm going to turn to face you so that you can see what we're doing. Make sure the feet again are about hip width apart, and maybe even a little bit more than that. And make sure your weight is distributed evenly in both feet. Now bring the arms out to a T and take a very gentle twist to your left and look behind you to the left. Keep weight in both feet. Now back to center and over to the right side. Keep the weight distributed evenly in the feet and feel the rotation of the whole body. And we're just going to go back and forth. Make sure your core stays engaged throughout the movement. And then over to the left side. And maybe twice more. Over to the right. And back to the left. And then to the right. Make sure your movement is controlled. And then over to the left and then back to center. Now reach the arms up and overhead, interlace your fingers, and point the index fingers, that's Arrow Mudra. Then straighten the arms and reach up high so that you feel stretch in the armpits. Now we're going to do some side bending, creating a crescent shape in the spine. Press your hips to the right, and then reach the index fingers off to the left, back to center. We keep reaching through the index fingers, taking the weight off the lower spine, and then reach to the other side. Hips press to the left, index fingers reach to the right. Now reach back up high. We're going to do that one more time, and off to the left, and back to center, and to the right, pressing the hips to the left, and then back to center. Reach up high, and then bring your hands to heart center. I'm going to turn now to face the front of the mat. And now we're going to round the spine forward and back. So bring the hands to the knees, a little bend in the knees, let your head drop down. On an inhale, rise back up, reach up and look up, and then bring the hands to the low back, press the hands into the back, and then rise. Reach up and exhale and bring the hands down. Let's continue that about 4 more times. Up and back, hands to the low back supporting, and inhale, reach up, and exhale and round the spine and forward. Inhale and up. Exhale, hands to the low back, press into the low back, and inhale and rise. Let's do it one more time. Inhale, up and back, and hands to the low back, and then rise, reach up high, and exhale and round. Now let your hands come down, bring the arms out to a T, and press into the front of the feet as you rise, reach up high, and exhale the hands to heart center. Take a breath now. Now bring your arms out to a T. I'm going to turn and face you. Now bring the hands forward and touch the palms, and then bring the hands behind you, interlace the fingers behind the back, and straighten the elbows. We'll do that twice more. Forward and back, straighten the elbows, and one more time. Forward and back, straighten the elbows. Now release the hands down, and then let's come to table pose. On hands and knees, check in with your alignment and make sure that the hands are below the shoulders and the knees are right below the hips. Now cow pose, drop your belly and lift your chin, and then exhale to cat pose. And again, dropping the belly, lift the chin, and then exhale to cat. This time push your hands into the mat and draw the navel towards the spine. Inhale, drop the belly and lift the chin. And then exhale to cat pose. And one more time through. Dropping the belly, lifting the chin, and exhaling to cat pose. Now come back to a neutral spine and pause. Now press your hips off to the right. Keep both hands planted on the mat, and then off to the left, and then to the right, and to the left. One more time, off to the right, and to the left, and then bring it back to center. Now walk your hands forward a little bit. 3 or 4 inches should do it. And then move the hips to the right, just like we did before, but this time glide the hips forward in order to make circles, and then off to the left, circles with the hips, and then back, and off to the right, and then forward and to the left and back. Now swing the hips back to the left, and then forward and to the right. And we'll go around one more time. Opening up the hip joints, feeling that nice dynamic stretch. Now come back to center, and then press the hips back to the heels. And then glide the hips forward. Draw the navel up towards the spine as you move through table pose. Drop the hips and lift the chin. And then press back again towards child's pose. Do it again, gliding the hips forward and down, lifting the chin, and one more time. Pressing back and gliding the hips forward and down. And now tuck your toes and lift your hips. Downward facing dog, stay there a moment only, and then come back to plank pose. Bring the knees to the mat, press back towards child's pose, glide forward through table, drop the hips, lift the chin. Now tuck your toes and lift your hips. Downward facing dog. Let's come back to plank pose now. Then bring the knees down. Press the hips to the heels. Glide forward.
Lift your chin. Now tuck your toes and lift your hips into downward facing dog. Now on an inhale, reach your left leg up and then step that left foot forward between the hands. Bring the right knee to the mat. Untuck the toes on that right foot. Keep your fingertips on the mat as you straighten the left leg. Now reach your head forward. Feel that stretch, probably in the back of the left leg, maybe the left hip, and then bend the knee. We're going to do that twice more on this side. Straighten the leg, press that left hip back, reach your head forward, and one more time. Bend the knee, and then straighten the leg, and then bend the knee, tuck the toes on the right foot, bring your right knee off the mat, bring your hands back to the mat, and reach the left leg up and overhead, lift it high, and then bring the left foot down so it meets the right foot. Downward dog, press the hands into the mat. Feel the length in the back body, a little stretch also in the legs. On an inhale, reach the right leg up and then step the right foot forward so it comes between the hands. Bring the left knee to the mat. Keep the fingertips on the mat and straighten the right leg. Reach your head forward. Notice the stretch. Now bend the right knee. Press that right knee forward. Lift your chin a little bit and then press back. And one more time, bend the knee, press it forward, and then straighten the leg and pull that right hip back a little bit as you pull your head forward, and then bend the right knee. Now untuck your toes on the left leg, left knee comes off the mat, step the right foot back so it comes back to the left leg, back to plank pose. Take a breath. Now bring your knees to the mat, back towards child's pose, and then glide forward. Drop the hips and lift the chin. Let's do that twice more. Gliding back and then gliding forward. And one more time. Pressing back and then glide forward to cobra pose. Actually, it isn't quite cobra pose, is it? Elbows are straight here. Heart's pressing forward. Now look off to your left. Then bring your head back to center and look off to the right. And one more time on each side, to the left, and back to center, and to the right. Bring your head back to center, then come back to table pose. Walk the hands back so that they're right under the shoulders. Now cross the ankles behind you, and come to a seat. Cross-legged position, seated. And I've turned to face you. You can still face the front of the mat. Now, bring the left hand to the right knee. Bring the right hand down behind you. Breathe in deeply, and as you exhale, twist and look over your right shoulder. Just hold it for one breath, and then release and flow right to the other side. Right hand comes to left knee. The left hand is behind you. Breathe in deeply, and exhale, and twist. One more time on each side. Just holding that stretch for a moment, and then come back to center. Now I'm going to turn back to face the front of the mat. And I want you to bend your left knee and bring the sole of the left foot to the inner part of your right thigh. Press the right heel away. Reach the arms up and overhead. Try and keep your biceps on either side of the ears. Hinge at the hips and fold forward. Keep the spine as long as you can, and then press into the right heel and rise back up. Let's do that twice more. You can interlace the fingers and point the index fingers, if you want, into Arrow Mudra. And one more time, reaching through the index fingers if you're using Arrow Mudra, and then rise all the way back up. Release the hands now. Let's come to the second side. Bring the sole of the right foot to the inside of that left thigh. Reach the arms up and overhead. Make sure you're grounded in both sitting bones. Arrow Mudra if you want. If not, just hands, if not, palms just facing towards one another. Now reach up really high. Keep the biceps on either side of the ears. The spine stays long. Reach through the index fingers. Come down all the way and then press through that left heel and rise back up. Do that a second time. Reaching forward and rising back up. And let's do it one more time. Reaching forward and rising all the way back up. Then release the hands and bring them down. We're coming near to the end of our dynamic stretching phase. What I'd like you to do is bring both legs out in front of you and then bring the feet apart so that the heels are about at the edges of the mat. Now sit up nice and tall. Notice how tall my spine is. I'm not slouching. My chin isn't on my chest like that. Sit up nice and tall as much as you can. You can keep your hands on your knees here, and then let the shoulders come back a little bit. Now slowly hinge at the hips as you come forward just a little bit. Now probably my low back rounded just a little bit, but not too much. For the most part, my spine is nice and long. And now come back up. We were just there for a breath. And do that again. Hinging forward and then rising back up. Notice where you feel the sensation in the pose. Just continue that way, thinking about lengthening your spine each time. You can bend the knees a little bit here if you like. That'll take some of the relief out of the hamstring. Let the hands slide down the legs, maybe all the way to the feet. And one more time. Beautiful. Come all the way back up. Now, bring the soles of the feet to the mat. Knees bent about 90 degrees. And bring the palms to the mat, and then lean back. Keep your spine nice and long, and straighten the legs. This is a supported version of boat pose. Notice there's about a 90-degree angle between my upper body and my lower body. And if you want, you can release your hands, reach them forward into a full boat pose. You could take Arrow Mudra here as an option. You can flip your palms so they face up. Another breath. Building strength. We moved into the strength phase of our practice now. And here we're building strength in the whole core, the gluteal muscles, the abdominal muscles, the lower back muscles. Now bend the knees and rock forward and back a little bit. And then eventually rock yourself into a standing forward fold at the front of your mat. Let your head drop down, take opposite elbows, press into the front of the feet, keep your weight there, keep your spine long, and rise up nice and slow, building core strength. Once you're there, release your arms and bring them down by your side. Now flip the palms so they face forward, and on an inhale, reach the arms high. Leave them there as you hinge at the hips and slowly begin to fold forward. Come to a half lift now. Now let your head drop down and step your left foot back. About a 3/4 step is all. Bend the right knee and rise to Warrior One. Reach the arms up and overhead in Warrior One. And make sure that you have that left heel on the mat. Maybe you can bend your right knee a little bit more. And check in with your shoulders and your hips to see if they're square to the front of the mat. Extend the upper body, lengthen. Now bring the arms out to a T, palms facing down. Keep your spine long, hinge at the hips, and fold forward. See if you can bring your right shoulder to your right knee. Keep the head reaching forward. Keep pressing that right hip back. Now press into the right foot and slowly rise back up. Reach the arms up and overhead. Let's do that twice more. Arms to a T, palms face down, right knee is bent, upper body is long. Come down halfway and then slowly rise back up. Reach the arms up and overhead. Let's do that one more time on this side. Halfway down, rest the right shoulder on the right knee, and then rise all the way back up. Reach the arms high, and then exhale the hands to heart center. Bring the weight into that right foot and step the left foot forward so it meets the right foot. Hinge at the hips and fold forward. Let your head drop down and then come to a half lift. As you exhale, let the head drop all the way down and step your right foot about a 3/4 step back. So about 3.5 feet, 4 feet maybe between my 2 feet. Bend your left knee and rise Warrior One on our second side. Check in again with the hips. Here it's perfectly normal for that right hip to want to pull back, but it kind of takes out of the pose what we're trying to create here. So I want you to pull that hip forward, that right hip forward a little bit. Pull the left hip back so the hips are square to the front of your mat. Shoulders will follow, then reach the arms up and overhead and bend your left knee. Anchor into the pinky toe and the heel of that right foot, and then the arms come out to a T, palms face down, spine stays long as you hinge at the hips. Come down, bringing the left shoulder to the left knee if you can. Press in the left foot, keep that left knee straight, and rise. Reach the arms high, and then out to a T. Second time on this side, coming down, pressing in the left foot, and rising back up. Arms reach up and overhead. And one more time, arms to a T. Now bend, coming down. That is hinge at the hips is what I meant. And then slowly rise all the way back up. Reach the arms high. Then as you exhale, hands to heart center. Bring the weight into the left foot. You feeling that in the left leg yet? We're building strength in the leg. Now step the right foot forward so it meets the left foot. Let your eyes close down and breathe. Feel the breath as it moves so beautifully through your body. And one more breath. You're doing great. I'm going to turn now and face back to the front of my mat. Let your arms float up and overhead. And then as you exhale, bring your hands to heart center. Hinge at the hips and slowly fold forward. Keep the spine long. Come to a half lift now. And then as you exhale, step the left foot back into runner's lunge. The right knee is bent about 90 degrees. Leave your left hand on the mat. Reach your right hand up high. And then bring the right hand down to the outside of the right foot, so you're framing that forward foot with the hands. Then bring the weight into the hands, pick that right foot up, reach it up and overhead. And then step the right foot forward so it comes between the hands. Spin your left heel to the mat. I'm going to turn to the other side so you can see me. And rise to warrior two this time with the right knee bent, anchoring into the pinky toe of your left foot. Relax the upper body a little. See if you've brought any tension into the wrists and the shoulders and maybe even into the fingertips. Now straighten the right leg, drop the left hand down, reach the right hand up and back into a reverse triangle pose. Now the arms come out to a T, anchor into the pinky toe of the left foot, reach the right hand forward, and then bring it down into triangle pose. Left hand reaches high. Notice your alignment. See if you're able to come to a place where the left hand is more or less over the left shoulder and the left shoulder is over the right shoulder. Right shoulder is over the right hand. One more breath. Now keep the right leg straight and slowly come all the way back up. Lots of core strength there. Bend the right knee, come back to warrior two. Now extended side angle pose. Bring the elbow to the knee and reach with the left hand, stretching. Now the arms come out to a T, back to warrior two, and then straighten the right leg. Pivot on the right heel so the toes on the right foot point to the left side of your mat. The feet are more or less parallel to one another. Bring the hands behind you, interlace your fingers behind your back. Bring the shoulder blades just a little bit together on the back, not too much. Now hinge at the hips, come down halfway, and then rise back up. Do that a second time. Halfway down. And rise back up. If you want more out of this pose, release your hands, reach them up. Biceps stay on either side of the ears, hinge at the hips, and then rise back up. Lots more core strength to do that. Let's do that one more time. And then rise all the way back up. The arms come back out to a T. Now pivot on your left heel, bend your left knee, warrior two now towards the back of your mat. Now straighten your left leg, drop the right hand down, reach the left hand up and back into a reverse triangle pose. Now the arms come out to a T, hands reach apart from one another, palms face down. Press into the right foot, reach the left hand forward, and then bring it down into triangle pose, Trikonasana. Find that alignment in the arms. The right hand over the right shoulder, and the right shoulder more or less over the left shoulder. One more breath. Now press in the left foot, keep the left leg straight, and rise back to warrior two, bending the left knee. Now bring the left elbow to the knee into extended side angle pose. And then rise back to warrior two. Settle into warrior two. Upper body nice and vertical, nice and perpendicular to your mat. Left leg deeply engaged. Now straighten the left leg. Pivot on the left heel so the toes on the left foot point to the left side of the mat. Arms still reaching out apart from one another. Bring the hands behind you, interlace the fingers, press the knuckles down towards the heels. Shoulder blades coming just a little bit together on the back. Now hinge at the hips and fold forward, come down halfway. Press into the pinky toes and come all the way back up. Let's do that a second time. Halfway down. Now release the arms. Reach the hands forward, biceps on either side of the ears. Press into the pinky toes and rise. One more time like that. Keep reaching through the fingertips and then rise all the way back up. Now bring the arms out to a T. Pivot on your right heel. Bend the right knee. Warrior two towards the front of the mat. Now cartwheel your hands down on either side of that right foot. Come up onto the ball of the left foot. Step the right foot back to plank pose. I'm going to turn around and face the front of my mat again. You stay right where you are in plank pose. Press the hands into the mat a little bit more. Press the pads of the fingers and the thumbs into the mat a little bit more. One more breath. Now lift your hips into downward facing dog. Feel the stretch in the back. Maybe a little bit of a stretch in the legs. Not too much. Glide forward to plank pose. Now flow through vinyasa. Either knees, chest, chin, or chaturanga into upward facing dog. And then when you're ready, tuck the toes and lift the hips into downward facing dog. Bend the knees. Bend them even a little bit more than that. And now take a hop forward so the feet end up between the hands. Let your head drop down. Chin on chest, round the spine as you rise, coming up. Then reach the arms high. And exhale the hands to heart center. Let your eyes close down now and just take a couple of breaths. Take the time to feel the breath moving through your body. Now bring the arms out to a T and swan dive to a forward fold. Bring yourself to a half lift, spine nice and long. And as you exhale, let your head drop down and step the right foot back. Left foot's going to follow it into plank pose again. Breathe deeply in plank. And then bring your knees to the mat with the knees right under the hips. We're in table pose. Now reach the right leg straight back, press through the right heel. Try and keep your hips level. Stay grounded in the right hand. Reach the left hand forward into table extension pose. And if you want, you can point through the toes of that right foot, or you can press through the heel. Either way works. Think about creating lots of extension. Increase the distance between whatever you're pressing back on that right foot and the left hand. 2 more breaths. Stay with it. Now, if you can, reach your left hand off to the left with the palm facing down, and then swing the right leg around to the right and reach the foot and the hand opposite one another. Huge amount of core strength here. Good work. Now swing the leg back, reach the hand forward, and then bring the hand and the knee down to the mat. Drop the belly and lift the chin, cow pose, and exhale to cat. And twice more, inhaling to cow, and exhaling to cat. Let's find one more. Drop the belly, lift the chin, cow pose, and exhale to cat. And then bring yourself back to a neutral spine. Now reach the right hand forward, stay grounded in that left hand, and then reach the left foot back. Keep reaching through the fingertips of the right hand. You can point through the toes of the left foot if you want. A couple more breaths here. Building strength, building heat. So if you're feeling heat in the body, That tells you that you're building strength at the same time. Reach the right hand off to the right now if you can, palm facing down, and then reach the left leg off to the left. Reach the foot and the hand in opposition to one another, and then swing the leg back, swing the hand forward, take a breath, and then bring the hand down and bring the knee down. Let your hips drop to your heels, bring the knees apart. Let's find child's pose. Let your forehead rest on the mat. 3 breaths, child's pose. Now come back to table pose, bringing the knees back so they're under the hips. Then come back to the elbows, or come down to the elbows. We haven't really even been down here yet. And you can bring the palms together if you want, or you can kind of cup the hands. You can even interlace the fingers if you want. Now, straighten the legs, and we're going to come to a dolphin plank pose. We're going to hold this pose for 5 breaths. This is an awesome way to build core strength. Just 3 more breaths. Stay with it. Feel the entire core engaged, as well as the legs and the shoulders, the neck. 1 more breath. Now, if you can, walk up to plank pose, straightening the elbows. Then we're going to come to a side plank. Roll over onto the pinky toe side of the left foot. Left hand stays on the mat. Right hand reaches high. If you want to, reach your right hand forward with the palm facing down. And if you want, pick that right foot up. A couple more breaths. And release the foot. And release the hand back to plank pose. Now flow through a vinyasa. Knees, chest, chin, or chaturanga into upward facing dog. And then downward facing dog. Glide forward to plank pose. Come down to the elbows again. Dolphin plank. See, I said again before, but I didn't mean it. Now I do. 2 more breaths. Lengthen the whole body. Now, if you can, walk back up to plank pose. And then we're going to flip over to the other side of our side plank. Right hand stays down. Roll over the pinky toe of the right foot. Reach the left hand forward. If you want, you can pick that left leg up, reaching through the fingertips of the left hand and the toes of that left foot. And then release the foot. Release the hand back to plank pose. Flow through a vinyasa. Knees, chest, chin, or chaturanga into upward facing dog. And then downward facing dog. Take a couple of breaths in downward dog. And 1 more. Now bend your knees and take your hop so the feet end up between the hands. Bend your knees now and rise to chair pose. I'm going to turn to the other side of the mat. Now bring hands to heart center. Press your palms together. And then bend the knees a little bit more, maybe even a little bit more. Now keep your spine long. Bring your left elbow to your right knee, coming into a chair twist. And then back to center to the other side. Right elbow to left knee. Back to center, back to chair pose. Now straighten the legs. Look up and exhale the hands to heart center. Fold forward and let your head drop down. Come to a half lift. Then as you exhale, bend your knees and come all the way down to your seat. And once you're seated, bring the soles of the feet together into cobbler pose. We've left the strength portion of our practice. We're moving now into static stretches. So we'll have some longer holds here on these stretches. Now that your muscles are warmed up, now that there's a lot of blood flowing to all those tissues, you can pull up on the ankles, let your spine get longer. A couple more breaths. Notice where you're feeling a stretch. Notice where the muscles are engaged. And one more breath. Now slowly bring the knees back together. You can help them with your hands if you want. And then come to a cross-legged position, or if you can, come to a lotus position. So any cross-legged posture would do. So this is called easy pose. And then this is lotus pose. Let your spine lengthen here. And we're going to take a twist now, experiencing rotation in the spine. And what I want you to do is bring your right hand to your left knee. Now breathe in deeply and let your spine get long. Press down on the sitting bones. And then as you exhale, twist and look over the left shoulder. We're going to remain here for 4 more breaths. Let the breath help you move more deeply into the pose. Drawing the navel in and then pulling the navel towards the back of your mat. Let's find one more breath. And then slowly unwind, coming out of the pose. Cross your legs the other way. So if you're in lotus pose, cross with the other leg on top, or the other foot on top. And if you were in easy pose, or some other version of a cross-legged pose, just cross the legs the other way. Now twist and look over the right shoulder. Bring in the left hand to the right knee. Remember to breathe in deeply and lengthen the spine as you breathe in, and then exhale and find your twist. Draw the navel in. And just feel the twist in the spine. 3 more breaths. One more breath. Now slowly unwind. Come out of the pose. And bring your legs out and bring them apart from one another, pressing the heels away from you. You can bring your hands to your shins, your knees, whatever works. Sit up nice and tall. Let me give you the side view here so that you can see that my spine is relatively long. So I'm not slouching or rounding. My chin isn't on my chest. I'm drawing my navel in, which helps the spine lengthen. I'm bringing my shoulders back, keeping my chin nice and level. Now, keep that whole posture with the spine, but begin to hinge at the hips a little bit. As you do that, you're going to notice, at least most of us will, engagement in the hamstring muscles, maybe the hips as well. Keep the spine as long as you can, lengthening the spine on an inhale, just like we were doing before, and then exhaling and moving more deeply into the splits. And again, inhaling and lengthening, and exhaling and moving more deeply into the posture. You can bring your hands down in front of you at some point if you want, although that tends to round the back, which we really don't want to do. So find a place for the hands and arms that doesn't cause you to excessively round the upper part of the back. Let's find one more breath. And then let's come out of the pose. And bend the knees. Bring the soles of the feet to the mat now. And then roll down to your back. And once you come to your back, lift your feet up off the mat, keeping the knees together. Bring your arms out to a T. Palms face down usually works pretty well here. Now let your knees travel to the left, moving to a supine twist. And let the knees land. Look off to your right. We're going to find 3 breaths in this pose. With each exhale, find just a little bit deeper twist, but this time not forcing the twist, instead letting your body surrender into it. One more time.
exhale and just start to let go. Now let the knees float back to center and over to the other side. Your gaze will shift to the left now. Take a deep breath in, and as you exhale, soften into the twist. And 2 more, breathing in and breathing out. And 1 more. Let go of our supine twist, letting the knees float back to center. Bring your hands back down by your side. Walk your feet back so that you can brush your heels with your fingertips. Feet about hip width apart. And when you're ready, find a bridge pose, lifting the hips up. Bring the shoulder blades a little closer together on the back. Remember, this is a back bend. You can support your butt if you want with your hands, if you can lift your hips up that high. Alternatively, if you have something that will provide support, a block or a blanket or a pillow or something else, feel free to use that at this point. The experience that I invite you to have in this pose, at least at this juncture, is the back bend, and not so much the muscular engagement. And that's why the support can be really nice. When you're ready, slowly come all the way down. Once your tailbone lands, bring your hands down by your side. Now pick your feet up off the mat. And then press the low back into the mat. You'll need to bring your knees a little bit towards your chest, but I don't want you to lift your tailbone up. Now press the back of the shoulders down and take a big, deep breath. And then as you exhale, straighten both legs into legs up the wall pose. And then keep the palms on the mat, point the toes, and then very slowly let the legs float all the way down to the mat. You can take as long as you want here. And then eventually let the heels land. And then once they do, flip your palms so they face up. You can bring your feet a little bit farther apart if you like, and let your toes flop out. We've come to Shavasana. Take this opportunity just to get to know your body a little bit better. Begin to notice what each separate part of your body feels like. Each thumb, each finger, the palm of each hand, the forearm and the upper arm and the elbows, the shoulders. Notice the neck, the upper back, the mid back, and the low back. Notice your hips on the left side and the right side. The upper part of the legs, both front and back. The knees. The lower legs. The ankles, the feet, and even the toes. Notice your head, your forehead and your eyes and your cheeks. Notice your ears, your nose and your mouth and your chin. Notice your throat, your heart, your navel. And now, instead of focusing on all those little individual parts, begin to notice the whole body all at once. Begin now to allow your breath to both deepen and lengthen. So let your breath go from wherever it is, maybe 4, 5, 6 counts, up to perhaps 6, 7, even 8 or 9 counts. I don't want you to force the breath. I want you to allow it to deepen naturally. And just notice what that feels like once your breath begins to lengthen. Now imagine your body as a vessel that's pliable and holds the breath. The next time you breathe in, feel that vessel expanding. And when you breathe out, feel the vessel contracting. On the inhale, feel the expansion, and on the exhale, the contraction. Now let your knees begin to bend very gently, and then roll over to one side or the other. Doesn't matter which one. You can keep your eyes closed very gently, and if you like, cradle your head in your arm. Enjoy a couple of breaths on your side. Again, noticing if the breath seems to want to lengthen. Then after a couple of breaths, bring yourself slowly to a seat. Once you're seated, recognize that we are coming to the conclusion of our yoga practice. Now the hands can come to heart center with the palms pressing gently together. Take a deep breath in. And then open your mouth and let the breath go. Thank you so much for joining me today for this practice. May you be happy and well and safe, and may you be peaceful and at ease. Namaste. Take care. I will see you again soon.